my summation, Mr. Chairman, is that it is clear the only issue in this particular proceedings, as far as Mr. Gabi Lopez is concerned, is his citizenship. And this is confirmed by his lawyer, by the Bureau of Immigration, by the Department of Justice, by the SEC, that Gabi Lopez is 100% Filipino. And being 100% Filipino, he can own stocks in ABS-CBN and become a former president of this. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank Attorney Damaso, of course, Mr. Gabi Lopez. We also thank our Bureau of Immigration Commissioner, and then we have also ASEC and the SEC. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time given to me. I thank all the resource persons. Thank you, and good afternoon to all of us. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Congressman Rodriguez. Yes, Vice Chairman Remulla.
Mr. Chairman, can we be allowed to propound questions also to the DOJ in rebuttal to the questions of Attorney Rufus Rodriguez in this matter?
You're not allowed to do so at this point, Vice Chairman Remulla. But if you'll be pointing something that is out of order, then you may do so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, because what we're talking about here is legal interpretation, and that the Supreme Court has never decided on this matter. And all of the questions were, of course, Mr. Rodriguez, Honorable Rodriguez, is an author of the franchise law, so he is asking all the questions that would be supporting his bill, especially even to the extent that open-ended questions are being asked without regard to the fact that these matters have not been interpreted properly by the Supreme Court.
Yes, you can continue. You can continue.
Well, the question here is, what are the dual allegiance cases decided by the Supreme Court with regards to mass media, ASEC?
There are none, Your Honor.
There are none.
No dual allegiance cases yet insofar as mass media is concerned.
So the reference to land ownership, as stated by the Securities and Exchange Commission for Filipino citizens or dual citizens, cannot be applied to the issue of mass media. Can it be applied?
Your Honor,
Yes or no, ASEC?
Okay,
ASEC?
Your Honor.
Can this be applied to mass media, all these references to land ownership of the
Your Honor,
SEC?
opinion of the SEC is an opinion of the SEC. So at most it is persuasive. It has no stare decisis effect on us like a Supreme Court decision would. But at the same time, even if it pertained to the ownership of land, it can apply by analogy to mass media because it pertains to a similar situation, and that situation is nationalization of particular activities to Filipinos, and it goes into the definition, into the interpretation of what a Filipino is in those different constitutional provisions.
Yes, but in the drafting of the law and the passage of the law of dual citizenship in 2001, it was very clear from the deliberations of the Senate and from the letters, from the endorsements of the Executive Department, that the purpose for allowing dual citizens to own land was really the purpose for the dual citizenship law is to allow them to own land, but not mass media. Is that not there, ASEC?
I have to look up.
So you have not studied
I'm not aware of that.
You have not studied the law drafted in 2001 about how it came about, and it did not refer to anything about mass media.
I'm not sure about that particular statement, Your Honor.
Is there any other activity in the Constitution about requiring ownership wholly by Filipinos or to corporations 100% Filipino?
If I recall correctly, Your Honor, it seems to be mass media only.
Mass media only. So it is sui generis, a class on its own.
That can be said, Your Honor.
So all of these allusions or all of these references to land ownership and mass media, they're apples and oranges. They're not the same, are they?
That can be said, Your Honor. They're not the same in some ways, but they're also the same in other ways.
And if you go back again to the drafters of the Constitution, the reference to national security and mass media is very clear, isn't it, Mr. T?
I'll have to look it up, Your Honor.
Well, that was
But
the thesis
Congressman Remulla,
posited by...
please wind up.
That was the thesis posited by the Honorable P.D. Barsaga, where he quoted
yes.
a constitutional commissioner, one was Noliedo and the other one I cannot recall right now, saying that there are national security implications in the ownership of mass media.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Your Honor.
Okay, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. As there are no members who wishes to interpolate on the first issue, tayo po ay nasa unang issue pa rin. We will now proceed with the second issue on ownership. Ang katanungan po ay whether or not ABS-CBN Corporation violated the constitutional requirement of 100% Filipino ownership and management for mass media when ABS-CBN sold Philippine depositary receipts to foreigners which allegedly allowed non-Filipinos to own ABS-CBN. Sa usaping ito po, bigyan lang natin ng linaw at para po sa kaalaman ng marami sa ating mga nanonood na sa Philippine Stock Exchange Glossary po ay meron pong nakalagay na definisyon ang PDRs o kaya ang Philippine Depositary Receipts. In the Philippines, a Philippine Depositary Receipt or PDR is defined as a security which grants the holder the right to the delivery of the sale of an underlying share. Sa Divina Law naman po, ang kanilang definisyon, PDRs are a kind of investment instrument that accrues interest and can be sold for profit. Individuals and corporations, regardless if a Filipino citizen or not, can invest in PDRs. Gamit po ang mga kaisipang ito ay sisimulan po natin ang mahabang linya ng ating mga kasama na magtatanong at ang kauna-unahan po sa mga magtatanong ay si Congresswoman Dindi Bautista. Congressman Bautista, you're now recognized. You have the floor.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair, and thank you for recognizing me on the issue on the PDRs. So I just have a few questions to address to ABS-CBN, and anyone from ABS-CBN could answer this. Mr. Chair, may I ask if I could direct the questions directly to anyone from ABS-CBN who could answer my query?
Opo, Congresswoman Bautista, hanggat nasa inyo po ang floor, kayo po ang nasa inyo po ang direksyon kung kanino po kayo magtatanong at kung sino ang gusto niyon sumagot. Maraming salamat po.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, the issue on PDR is very complicated and it's somehow difficult to understand. So, I'd just like to have a few clarifications. To ABS-CBN, ABS-CBN Holdings Incorporated reserved 272 million of its shares in ABS-CBN Corporation and deposited them with the Philippine Central Depository Incorporated and issued a corresponding 272 PDRs representing each of those shares so that the PDRs could be freely traded instead of the actual shares. Anyone could ABS-CBN could give me a light. Is my understanding of the PDRs correct?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. That was in 1999. ABS Holdings issued 272 million PDRs covering 272 million.
Naririnig niyo po ba, Congresswoman Bautista?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair, I can hear him.
Maaari pong pakiulit po ang inyong sagot at pakilakasan po.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct, Mr. Chairman. In 1999, ABS-CBN Holdings issued 272 million PDRs covering 272 million ABS-CBN shares.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd just like to address the committee before I proceed with my questions. Has ABS-CBN provided this committee the actual PDRs that we've requested? Because based on the documents they have submitted to us, they have only given us a sample, and we want to see the actual PDRs which they've given.
Mr. Chairman, what we submitted was the PDR instrument, and attached to the PDR instrument is a sample of the PDR certificate.
Yes, yes po. Pero I remember 2 hearings ago that the committee asked for an actual PDR because you submitted as the sample. So can we actually ask for the actual PDRs?
Mr. Chairman, there are several. We've issued several PDRs, but we could provide a sample.
Okay, thank you. Sir, with my second question, from your submissions, it seems that a foreigner holding a PDR could sell the PDR to a Filipino person or company, and that person or company could demand the delivery of the underlying ABS-CBN Corporation share. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, ma'am.
So in other words, in addition to the income, the PDRs in effect allow a foreigner to buy and sell the underlying ABS-CBN Corporation shares.
Madam, Mr. Chairman, ma'am, the PDRs can be sold to Filipinos and non-Filipinos, but the underlying shares can only be held by Filipinos.
That you are
Yes,
still
sir,
an
but
American. That's the very
but
issue.
Can they sell the underlying
Kaya ang
share
tanong lang,
without the
that you are still an American. That's the
instruction
very
of a
issue.
PDR holder?
Kaya ang tanong lang po napakasimple. Napakalaking sakripisyo ba
Madam,
na i-renounce ninyo ang inyong pagiging Amerikano?
To be able, if a PDR holder
Or an
exercises
insidious
his
threat
PD,
to our
PDRs,
sovereignty.
and if
Ba't namin
he's a
appreciation?
Filipino, he can get the shares.
So
But
all
if
of
he's
this
not a Filipino,
general law on that.
the
But
shares
there
will be
was-
sold in the market,
there was a law.
and the proceeds will be delivered to that non-Filipino PDR holder.
So, for the next question, does not receiving income and having the ability to direct the sale of shares, so essentially, for the next question, to ownership and control of the shares. So basically, income and having from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, can you actually sell something that you don't have ownership of?
The PDR is a financial instrument which gives the holder thereof a right to purchase the shares. If he is a Filipino, he also has a right to the proceeds of the sale of the shares if he's not a Filipino. So he can get the proceeds of the shares if it is sold once it is exercised.
So, okay. Sir, under your PDR, is it not stated, this is under the sample PDR that you submitted, is it not stated that both ABS-CBN Holdings and ABS-CBN Corporation are bound not to alter, modify, or otherwise change its articles of incorporation or bylaws or take any other action that would prejudice the rights of the PDR holders?
That's correct, madam.
And under the
Congresswoman
same PDR,
Dean
is it
Bautista. Congresswoman Dean
is it
Bautista.
yes.
Yes.
sir.
Kindly emphasize that point because that would be very critical to the point you're raising.
Yes. So I will repeat my question and my statement. So under your PDR that you submitted, is it not stated that both ABS-CBN Holdings and ABS-CBN Corporation are not bound to alter, modify, or otherwise change its articles of incorporation or bylaws or take any other action that would prejudice the rights of the PDR holders?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, can I check the PDR instrument?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, based on the PDR instrument under Section 12.2, it's the issuer that, or the ABS Holdings, that undertook to cause the company not to alter, modify, or otherwise change its articles of incorporation. It's not ABS-CBN that did that, made that undertaking.
Okay. So, under the same PDR, is it not the case that the issuer of the PDR bound itself to incur any obligation, debt, or liability that would materially or adversely affect its ability to meet its obligations under the PDR?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. So, in effect, can we both say that both these stipulations on your PDR restrict ABS-CBN Holdings and ABS-CBN Corporation's management prerogative and show control?
Madam, our position is that these restrictions do not transfer ownership or control to the PDR holders.
Sir, because, and Mr. Chair, this is my final question also, because may I point out that based on the Court of Appeals ruling in Rappler Holdings Incorporated versus SEC, where these were almost the same stipulations similar to these were held as showing control. And Mr. Chair, that was my final question.
ABS-CBN, do you want to answer?
Our position, Madam, is that the provisions in the Rappler are different from our provisions.
Mr. Chair, may I request the representative from ABS-CBN to speak a little bit louder? Medyo mahina po yung
Opo,
sagot.
nirequest ko na po sa kanila kanina. At i-request ko po ulit ngayon, i-request po namin ulit na pakilakasan po tuwing sumasagot po kayo.
Mr. Chairman, our position is that the provisions in the Rappler PDRs are different from the provisions in the ABS PDRs with respect to that section 12.2.
Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat, Congresswoman Dindi Bautista, sa iyong mga sunod-sunod na katanungan.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Defensor.
Mr. Chair, kasi po yung pinabanggit ni Congresswoman Bautista based on the Court of Appeals, yung pong provision na yun, binasa po din ng ABS-CBN yung provision nila. Sa akin kung palagay, parehong-pareho.
Yes.
Hindi ko napansin yung pagkakaiba. So, kung mali lang pong mapaliwanag ng ABS-CBN, kasi parang hindi na klaro yun, ano yung pagkakaiba? Because the same conditions of the PDR of ABS-CBN, as read by the ABS-CBN representative, are the ones being mentioned by the Honorable Bautista. Iyan din po ang provision sa Rappler PDRs.
Maraming salamat po sa napakagandang manifestation ni Vice Chairman Defensor. Yes, Vice Chairman Remulla.
Mr. Chairman, the real question is how do you distinguish one and the other? Can we distinguish the Rappler PDR from the ABS-CBN PDR, and what are the differences between them?
Yan po ay ilan sa mga katanungan na paghandaan ng ABS-CBN. Gusto niyo na po ba sagutin ngayon? Yes, ABS-CBN.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our position, as correctly stated by the Corporate Secretary of ABS-CBN, is that there were material changes made to the Rappler PDR instrument. The main distinction was any change in the Rappler PDR required consultation with the PDR holders, and the original version required approval before such changes can be made. In our in the ABS-CBN model, there was no requirement. From the very beginning, there was an understanding that when the PDR issuer issued, they made a promise that they would not change the document.
Mr. Chairman,
Maraming salamat po. Yes, Congressman Barsaga.
just a suggestion, in order that the records would properly reflect kung sino ang mga sumasagot sa ating mga katanungan, pwede bang paki-request natin sa mga kinatawan ng ABS-CBN na bago sumagot, sabihin ang kanilang pangalan, pati na ang tungkulin nila sa ABS-CBN.
All guests, all invited guests are requested to do so. Alam niyo po mga kasama, ang hearing po natin ay hanggang alas 6 lang at nakikita ko na po ang susunod na magtatanong na...
Mr. Chair, the name of the one who replied prior to...
Yes.
Yes, pangalan po ninyo, sir?
Herminio Ozaita Jr. Attorney po ako sa Romulo Law Office. I'm also counsel to ABS-CBN.
Maraming salamat po. Next, to interpolate, at sana po ito'y maikling interpolation lamang dahil lumagpas na po tayo sa oras natin na hanggang alas 6 lamang, 6:01 na po. And probably the last one to interpolate for today will be Deputy Speaker Dan Fernandez. You now have the floor.
Okay, maraming salamat Mr. Chairman at magandang gabi na po sa ating lahat, especially to all our resource speakers who have been invited in this joint congressional committee hearings. Alam nyo, pinag-uusapan natin po itong PDR, no? At kung isipin po ay parang napakahirap intindihin kung ano ibig sabihin ng Philippine Depositary Receipt. At kung tayo po ay simpleng mamamayan o ordinaryong mamamayan lamang, ay tunay na mahihirapan po tayong i-explain kung ano po itong PDR. And that's the reason why kanina ay tinatanong ni Congresswoman Bautista kung meron po tayong may pakikita na parang original na tinatawag nating Philippine Depository Receipt Certificate. At kanina po ay binigay ng ating sekretariat yung ating pong sample ng tinatawag nating PDRC na kung saan ito po yung tinatawag nating underlying share na ibinebenta po sa mga Pilipino at non-Pilipino para maintindihan po ng ating mga ordinaryong tao o ordinaryong mamamayan. Ito po ay isang financial instrument na kung saan ay maaaring magamit ng ating pong mga non-Filipinos, especially mga non-Filipinos. But Filipinos can also buy this PDR on Philippine Stock Exchange or kaya ay tinatawag nating private placement. At ito po ay ginagamit ng ABS-CBN Holding Corporation na kung saan ang mostly na bumibili sa ating pong holding corporation under ABS-CBN ay yung ating pong mga foreign investor. At alam nyo, matagal na rin po itong PDR. Kumbaga, 1920 pa lang ay na-discover na to at naging popular lamang to sa Pilipinas noong 1999. As a matter of fact, ang ating pong ABS-CBN Holding Corporation have started to have this kind of PDR na kung saan sila po ang nag-i-issue. Maganda po ito sa atin dahil nga exactly nakita po natin na nagkaroon po tayo ng mga foreign investors, magdagang negosyo, nagkaroon ng trabaho ang ating pong mga mamamayan, lumakas ang kita, tumaas ang ekonomiya. But still, nakita natin yung maganda epekto, but unfortunately, may mga problema that manifested during the execution of PDRs. Not because of the wrong implementation of PDRs, but on the previous practices that mass media company allegedly having a bias towards other news programs, and some allegedly as well that ABS-CBN had become manipulators of political balances in the Philippines. Pero ako, I've been a part of ABS-CBN as well. Ako po ay a former actor in ABS-CBN. I've worked in ABS-CBN for 6 years. At I've experienced a lot of good things in ABS-CBN as well. True to their slogan, sinasabi nila, in the service of the Filipino people, ay nakita naman po natin yung mga magandang ginagawa ng ABS-CBN during calamities, typhoons, earthquakes, yung mga tinatawag natin volcanic eruption, ABS-CBN was there. Maganda mga programa na ginagawa ng ABS-CBN. Nagpapaiyak, nagpapatawa, nagpapakilig sa ating mga kababayan. But it's always like this, merong two sides of a coin. At ang isa, maganda, at ang isa, hindi. Considering that there are allegations that during national election, yung slogan ng ating pong ABS-CBN ay parang nababago na in the service of ABS-CBN instead of in the service of the Filipino people. Those are the highly contentious and debatable issues. And I think we have to start by asking the ABS-CBN Holding Corporation some pertinent questions, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Alam natin that ibinibenta itong PDR. At sa pagbenta ng PDR, pag bumili ka, ano ang pamamaraan na ginagawa po ng ating pong mga holding corporation on selling the PDRs? The ABS-CBN Holding Corporation can answer this.
Mr. Chair, may I request that Attorney Ayo Bautista be recognized to answer the questions?
Yes, it's okay, as long as he belongs to the ABS-CBN Holding Corporation. Is he the lawyer of the holding corporation? Who is the lawyer of the holding corporation?
Si Attorney Quezon po.
Okay, go ahead. Sir.
Pakiulit po yung questions.
Ang tanong ko, di ba pag tayo po ay bumibili ng PDR, meron po tayong form on how to purchase eh. Di ba? For example, tayo po ay listed on a public, di ba? IPO. So, paano tayo bumibili? Bumibili ba tayo sa Philippine Stock Exchange? O tapo, meron po tayong tinatawag na, alam mo, pagbultuhan ng bili, meron tinatawag dyan na parang private placement, di ba? So, ginawa po ba natin to dito sa ating holding corporation?
Mr. Chairman, noong 1999, nagkaroon ho tayo ng initial offering of...
Can you speak louder, Mr. Chairman?
Noong 1999, nagkaroon ho tayo ng initial offer ng PDRs. Ito ay in-offer ng ABS Holdings to the public. So doon ho nagsimula yung PDRs. But after that, you can buy PDRs from the market. You can approach any broker and ask the broker to buy the PDRs for you.
So lahat ng mga qualified brokers are allowed to sell the PDRs. Mag-i-issue lamang ang holding corporation ng kanilang PDRs at mahahawakan nila yung kanilang certificate, di ba? Correct? Di ba yung correct, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, na-issue na ho yung PDRs ng ABS Holdings Corporation.
Okay.
And this is being circulated in the market.
I understand. Okay. Is this a Philippine Deposit Receipt Certificate is also tantamount on saying that this is the pledge agreement that the subscriber and the ABS-CBN Holding Corporation hold in between the buyer and the seller of the PDR?
Your Honor, the pledge agreement is a separate...
It's a different
agreement. Yeah.
Correct. Have you submitted the pledge of agreement in this honorable body?
No, Your Honor.
And that's the reason why I'm trying to find out dito po sa ating pong ABS Holding Corporation that you have given us. Hinahanap ko yung pledge of agreement that is specifically written dito po sa page number 6 sa ownership of shares and voting rights. but hindi ko po makita yung pledge of agreement. Can you kindly submit to us the pledge of agreement, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And also the...
Excuse me, Deputy Speaker Dan Fernandez. The committee secretary is hereby directed to secure a copy of an authentic copy of the agreement.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Congressman Remulla.
we've been here for more than 5 hours already, and I think that it's just about proper that we take a break. We take a break from this, and I think a good night's rest would help us digest all the facts in our minds. Because right now, Mr. Chairman, given all these questions, it's very hard to think of these very abstract principles involved due to the latest of the hour. We've been at it for 5 hours already, and I hope that we can just do this on Thursday when we meet again. So that
Yes, Congressman Remulla, we will do it on Thursday. We'll just let Congressman D.S. Dan Fernandez finish his line of questioning.
Mr. Chairman, in line with your request, can we request for all PDRs, all types of PDRs that they have issued?
Okay,
And at the
the
same time,
committee
Mr. Chairman,
secretary is hereby directed to...
Mr. Chairman, in addition to that, because I'm trying to find out also the sa articles of incorporation, yung mga incorporators. Kasi parang hinahanap ko po dito, hindi ko po makita yung mga incorporators. Can the ABS-CBN Holding Corporation also submit the list of the incorporators of the holding company? Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, move
Inaatasan
to
po-
suspend, Mr. Chairman. Move to suspend.
Yes, hearing suspended.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Hearing resumed. Yes, Deputy Speaker Dan Fernandez, you
Mr.
still
Chair,
have the floor.
because of the persuasion of our elderly members of this committee, I would submit and I would yield my time on the next hearing that will be appointed by this honorable body. Thank
The
you, Mr.
chairman
Chairman.
recognize D.S. Dante Marcoleta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to beg your indulgence because I observed that ABS-CBN has been the subject of a cease and desist order. Very recently, coming from the National Telecommunications Communication. But apparently, Mr. Chair, they are still able to air their programs and contents using the Sky Cable Corporation. Sky Cable Corporation, Mr. Chair, has 10 channels. Channel 1, YEY, Channel 5, Knowledge, 7, Cinemo, 8, this is the regular program, stop na yun. Channel 9 is Jeepney, 11, O Shopping, 17, regular program, stop, 23, Mix, 26, Teleradio, 27, ANC. You probably can notice also, Mr. Chair, several of our colleagues, they continue to air their program through the Sky Cable. We are all aware of the fact that the franchise of Sky Cable Corporation, which is now owned by ABS-CBN, the franchise has expired as of March 30, 2020. The representative of NTC is here, Mr. Chair. I know that the transmitter in Bohol Avenue is the subject of a CDO, but I'd like to know on what authority Sky Cable is still airing their programs through this channel, despite the fact that the franchise, as the records will bear us all, it expired last March 30, 2020. Is the NTC aware of this, Mr. Chair? And if they are aware, why is it that they consented in airing the program, Mr. Chair?
Ito pong katanungan ni Deputy Speaker Marcoleta ay nakasama sa pamilya ng ibang katanungan, ngunit papayagan po ng chairman ng committee ito na sagutin ito ng NTC briefly, maikling kasagutan lamang po mula sa NTC dahil importante pong magkaroon ng klarifikasyon yung isyong ito. NTC, you're now recognized. Please answer the group of questions raised by Deputy Speaker Dante Marcoleta.
Narinig niyo po ba ako, Mr. Chairman?
Loud and clear po, NTC.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. As raised by Congressman Marcoleta, ayun daw pong Sky Cable ay nakakapag-ere. Ang dahilan po niyan kasi, ang Sky Cable po ay may franchise, ayun pong Central Cable TV, but noon pong panahon po ni President Aquino, ay nag-issue po siya ng Executive Order number 205, series of 1987. Doon po sa Section 1 of Executive Order number 205 ay tinanggal po doon, ang sabi po doon, Section 1, the operation of cable antenna television system in the Philippines shall be open to all citizens of the Philippines or to corporations, cooperatives, or associations wholly owned and managed by such citizens under a certificate of authority granted by the National Telecommunications Commission, hereinafter referred to as the Commission. Lumalabas po dito sa executive order na to ay parang tinanggal po ng executive order ang requirement ng prangkisa para po sa mga cable TV operators. And actually po, yung mga ibang cable TV operators ay pag nag-apply po sa amin ay wala naman po silang prangkisa na sinasubmit. At hindi na po sila kumuha ng prangkisa sa amin, sa legislative branch of government. Ang ginagawa po nila ay nag-incorporate lang po sila sa SEC at saka po nagsasubmit ng aplikasyon sa National Telecommunications Commission.
Maraming salamat po, Commissioner Liel Cordoba, para sa inyong paglilinaw. At kung makikita nyo po mga kasama, mukhang kailangan po nating amyendahan ang batas na ito upang maibalik ang kapangyarihan ng prangkisa dito sa ating kapulungan ng taong bayan.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Marcoleta.
Sinabi po ni Commissioner Cordoba na meron pong Executive Order 205. Tama po yun, Mr. Chair. Ito po ay panahon
point of
ni
order.
dating...
Yes, what is your point of order,
I thought
Deputy
we have
Speaker?
agreed that we will be adhering to the request of Congressman Remulla, considering that I still have the floor a while ago, but because of the persuasion of Congressman Boying Remulla, I adhere to his request.
My parliamentary inquiry was approved by the Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Fernandez. I would like to hear the argument of Congressman Marcoleta.
This is true, Mr. Chair. There is Executive Order 205. This Executive Order was dated June 30, 1987, during the time of President Cory Aquino. But, Mr. Cordoba, you must realize that the Philippine 1987 Constitution was ratified on February 2, 1987. Meaning to say, the President of the Philippines lost already the making power kasi po under Freedom Constitution. As a matter of fact, Mr. Cordoba, I'd like to remind you that under Article 18, this is the transitory provision of our Constitution. Ang sabi po niya, all existing laws, decrees, executive orders, proclamations, letters of instructions, not inconsistent with this Constitution shall remain operative. Kung hindi, inconsistent. Ibig sabihin, dapat mananatili lamang siya kung kaugnay, kung consistent sa Constitution. Hindi po sila consistent. Why? Yung pong EO 205, ang sinasabi po roon, ang NTC ay magre-require ng Certificate of Authority to Operate. 15 taon lamang po yun. Hindi po yun ang ginamit ng Central TV, CATV o Central TV na ngayon Sky Cable. Ano po ang ginawa nila? Pumunta sila sa Kongreso para makakuha ng prangkisa. Ibig sabihin po, ang ginamit nilang authority ay yung prangkisang nakuha nila sa Congress, which expired last March 30, 2020. Bakit po, Mr. Cordova, sasabihin nyo ngayon na mayroong Executive Order 205? Hindi po yun. Nag-expire na po yung prangkisa. Hindi po yun ang authority kinuha ng Central TV. Ang kinuha po nila ay prangkisa from this Congress 25 years ago na nag-expire na po. Ang tanong ko po sa NTC, kung nalalaman po ninyo na nag-expire na, bakit po napapayagan pa po natin na mag-ere ng content at saka sa program using a facility whose franchise expired last March 30, 2020? Bakit po?
Mr. Chair, point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chair.
What is your point of order?
Mr. Chair, malinaw po na meron tayong agenda na sinusunod. No? At nabanggit rin ng kagalang-galang na chair kanina, itong mga series na tanong na ito ay kabahagi ng ibang pag-uusapan sa mga darating na araw. So if you will allow the Honorable Marcoleta to propound interpellation questions as to those issues, I think hindi naman po nararapat yun. Dahil meron tayong mga kasamahan na dapat sana ay nagtanong sa usapin ng
napaka-material po ng sinasabi natin ngayon.
Hearing resumed. Order. Hearing resumed. Sa susunod na hearing ko na po papayagang sumagot ang NTC and papayagan po natin na muli ay magbalik ang floor kay DS Dan Fernandez. At ang susunod po natin na hearing ay magaganap sa Thursday, 1 p.m. Same week po, ngayong panahong ito. Maraming salamat po. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I move to suspend the session till next Thursday.
There is a motion.
Second.
Duly seconded. Motion is approved.